Hello, science enthusiasts. I'm Jason Zakowski.
And I'm Chris Zakowski.
We're the pet parents of Bunsen, Beaker, Bernoulli, and Ginger.
The science animals on social media.
If you love science
and you love pets,
you've come to the right spot. So put on your safety glasses
and hold on to your tail.
This is the Science Podcast. Hi, welcome back to the Science Podcast. We hope you're happy and healthy out there. This is episode 28 of season 7. Chris, how you doing?
I'm okay. How are you?
We're heading into some pretty uncertain time, you and I, in our day job as teachers.
Yeah.
So I thought we could just talk about that real fast. It really looks like on Monday, our entire province, Alberta, all of the teachers will be on strike. So I just thought I should mention that. Like, it's a big thing for us right now.
It's unprecedented, but we did receive an email that there are some talks happening, which I'm excited about. But the email also said that strike action does commence on Monday. But again, my crystal ball is broken. I don't know how to fix it because I cannot predict the future.
No, not at all. We can just hope for the best, and I really hope it's over soon. But that's just what happens in life sometimes. Sometimes you got to fight for your rights, and that's what's happening right now. Yep. If you're an Alberta teacher listening, we're standing with you in solidarity. All right, let's get on with the show, Chris.
Let's get on with the show.
Yeah. In science news, we've got a hopeful article that is talking about a kind of a breakthrough, but a future breakthrough about 3D printing bones, which is crazy, actually. And in pet science, we're going to be talking about how pet ownership may or may not influence where pet ownership may or may not influence your philanthropy. So what you choose to give away, which is interesting when you break it down. All right, let's get to the show. There's no time like
science time.
This week in science news, we're going to talk about 3D printing bone grafts, which is wild. Do you know why I picked this article, Chris?
Because you've never broken a bone in your body?
That too, but because of the word 3D printing.
Oh, yes. You are an avid 3D printer. And when you get talking about it, you talk about your 3D printing bed. You call it a sling bed?
No. That's
a bed slinger?
No, that's what they used to be.
Oh, what is it now?
It's a Core XY. It's okay. Everybody's eyes glaze over when I get excited and start talking about 3D printers, except for the robotics teacher at my school. When I talk to her, we get going and it's so fun, but everybody just wants us to shut up, I think, because they don't care.
But you are so excited when new models come out. You go over the specs with me and you're like, but this one and this one's print bed is smaller, but it prints faster. And then you can print in color, all the things. You're just so excited. And I listen, but it's very similar to when Adam was talking about CPUs and GPUs, and he was drawing pictures of schematics of the computer. And I was just like, oh yes. And I was trying to keep up, but because I am passionate about whatever you're passionate about, like listening to your passion. That's what I love. And Adam loves computers. So he's talking about them and I'm trying to share in that joy because I think that's important. I may never know what a CPU, GPU is ever again, but you know what, I shared in that moment and I value people talking about what brings them joy.
There you go. 3D printing has taken a huge leap forward in the last year or two with these box printers. They look like a box. And this may relate to what we're going to be talking about in the science article. But the reason why there's been this huge leap forward is the print time has been drastically reduced because these new printers just fly. Every time I watch this, I've got one of the newer ones. It feels like it's just going to fly apart and explode because the thing is moving so quickly. But it really cuts down the time if I want to print something, it prints it in a hurry. I have a full-size Walter Whitehead. Remember when I printed that of like when he's got the hat on from Breaking Bad?
How do you do that?
That's on my front lab bench and the kids love it. That printed overnight. That would have taken like days and days on the old printers.
But the other thing with the old printer, when you're talking about speed and it's going days and days and then it gets 3/4 of the way done and then it screws up.
Oh, I hate that. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is much better.
Yeah. Way more reliable than new 3D printers. So there have been advancements in 3D printing of plastics, which I do, and perhaps 3D printing bones. Chris, what's going on with this?
Jason, it's so cool. It's a handheld device and it actually applies synthetic bone grafts directly at the site of the injury or defect. So it's not like what you might be thinking of where you get a STL file of a bone and then you're going to put that in the body. But what this core innovation does is it eliminates the need for prior imaging or actually fabricating of the grafts themselves. So what they did is they modified a hot glue gun actually to 3D print bio ink onto rabbit bone fractures. And there's some pretty cool things about the bio ink that I'm sure that we'll get into a little bit later in the study.
So traditionally, bone grafts there's a couple different ways they can do it. There's an autograft. That's where they take a bone from the patient's own body. And that's because it's got your own cells in it. It doesn't obviously use this new system. An allograft uses a bone from a cadaver, somebody who has died. There's lots of them, which is great. It's not as good as the autograft. And then, yes, as you said, Chris, they can image it and make a synthetic graft. That's a lab-made material. So this is quite a bit different. The bio ink composition is what makes this cool. It's made of two key. The bio ink composition is what makes this really interesting and cool. Two key compounds are used in these 3D printing implants. One of them is hydroxyapatite, which promotes bone formation and tissue regeneration. And another one with the acronym PCL, which is polycaprolactone. And that is a biocompatible FDA-approved plastic. So it is a plastic, and this acts as a scaffold for bone growth. It degrades over time in the body over several months, and this allows the natural bone tissues to replace it over time. So this bio ink sort of, Chris, though, works like the plastic spools that I have that kind of goes bebop boop and makes a thing, but it would be replaced by bone over time.
Mm-hmm. Jason, you're absolutely right. Now, the idea of this is to design something that is easy to set up and easy to equip and use in a clinical setting. And it saves time. So there's no multi-day wait for the scans and taking time to fabricate or 3D print. It actually saves costs because there's fewer imaging and lab steps. And it reduces actually the complexity of procedures.
They can actually change the consistency of the bio ink to optimize for strength, stiffness, and other properties, depending on where the bone needs to be put in. Like maybe a leg bone needs to be a heck of a lot stronger than an arm bone. The other cool thing is they can also incorporate antibiotics into the bio ink, and this helps prevent post-operative infections. And this just reminds me of Medigel from Mass Effect. It just reminds me of some slappy goo you just slap on an injury and it starts healing you right away.
Exactly. I like to think of it as super polysporin.
I guess. If the polysporin melted, because it does, it needs to get hot because it's in a modified glue gun. So somebody, I'm sure people have used a glue gun before and probably burnt themselves terribly on a glue gun. They get hot, really hot. But this ink melts at 60 degrees Celsius into a liquid, and then it cools in the body to body temperature within 40 seconds. So what this allows is a lot of adjustments in direction, angle, and depth as you go. And as you mentioned, Chris, the application is crazy fast. Just a few minutes to get it done.
Yeah, but there is some skeptics saying even 40 seconds is too long with that kind of heat for cells and tissues. So this is still in a prototype stage where they've had success testing on the femur fractures in rabbits. And they compared that with the regular bone cement controls in the study. And the rabbits treated with the bio ink showed better bone healing and regeneration. And actually no infections were observed during the 12 weeks following the surgery.
One of the things they're hoping to add to this is to increase its effectiveness. You could add growth factors like hormones to it, other antibiotics, and therapeutic drugs. But as you said, Chris, it's very much in proof of concepts. And it's not like you can go to Michael's or your local craft store and pick up a BioInk gun when Timmy falls off the tire swing with a broken leg and fix him that way. The promise of it is very cool. That it's very sci-fi, very futuristic. And perhaps in the next decade, we might see parts of that implemented in hospitals around the world.
I was just going to say, instead of a 3D printer, it's a bone printer pen.
Oh.
That's science news for this week.
This week in Pet Science, we're going to talk about pet ownership and giving. Chris, you're generally a more giving person than me.
I don't think so.
Oh, I think so. I grew up and every dollar I made to buy something, I had to work very hard for as a kid, like mowing lawns all summer, and I would get 2 cents. So when I actually saved up enough money, I was not in a very giving mood to people that needed it, because I had broke my back mowing all summer. Some of that has actually formed my opinion as an adult, and I need to do better at that. Get in a better giving mood now that we're much better off than we were when we were young.
When we were starving students, yeah, we were pinching pennies until they screamed. That's definitely for sure.
Yeah, the best we could do was do the odd fundraiser for the school for Adam and Duncan's things. Buy some Girl Guide cookies, 50
Jason,
50 tickets.
I bought all the Girl Guide cookies this year, I'm sure.
Did
and then
you?
I took them to my school. Yes,
Yeah.
I had 6 boxes.
That's
and then
true. We did.
And I got boxes for Adam. He wanted boxes because he loves the Girl Guide cookies. And then I bought another round of Girl Guide cookies, and I took them to the school. And they're like, where are all these Girl Guide cookies coming from? It's quite funny.
I brought some to my school too, and teachers love that. Yeah, so we definitely helped fund the Girl Guides this year with that. And then, of course, we did a really fun fundraiser that made us feel so good, which we donated like over 100 Bunsen Stuffies to the Central Alberta Child Advocacy Center for the kids there. That was really cool.
That was very good.
We were so glad to do that. So the study comes in and asks the question, does pet ownership influence giving? So what we know in previous studies is that social ties strongly influence how much you want to give and your giving behavior. There is almost no research on whether pet ownership can be an indicator of giving. And this study took a massive data set of donor transactions. And the number is astounding. 787 million. Did I get that number correct? Like 787 million donation transactions?
Yeah, but it's closer. It's higher than that. 787,877,198.
I can't say numbers that big.
Oh, really? I've been firing them off all day.
787 million, 800 and some, and then it's lot. That's what I say. So let's just round. Let's just round it to 2 sig figs, 7.8 times 10 to the 8. So there we go.
The donations were specifically given to charities and nonprofits across 10 years.
Yeah.
So the key findings of the study are very interesting. The donation amounts, what they found is non-pet owners donate the largest total amounts. Pet owners actually donate smaller amounts comparatively to the non-pet owners. Which is interesting. They also looked at donation frequency. Pet owners donate most frequently, even if the amounts are smaller. And the donation, they looked at diversity, where cat owners donated to the widest variety of charities. And cat owners also donate more overall than dog owners.
Oh, man.
So dog owners give less than cat owners, but they still give more frequently than non-pet owners.
I do see that because dogs are expensive. Maybe you don't have the same kind of money as you would if you didn't have a dog. And a lot of people keep like a slush fund or an emergency fund for dogs if something goes wrong, because vet bills can wipe you out if your dog gets sick. I don't know. That's just my hypothesis. I don't know if that's true or not. Cats generally are not as expensive as dogs to own. I think Ginger's entire sack of cat food lasted months, whereas we have to go get dog food every week for the dogs.
my colleague has a dash hound.
Oh,
and
nice.
Okay. I know she was on the one bag of dog food she's ever. And I'm like, we're just back to the store getting more food.
Now, the predictive model they used was called Cat Boost. So I'd love to know more information about this, but the Cat Boost regression model, I couldn't find a lot of information about. But it ranked pet ownership amongst all of these donation as the fourth most important factor influencing giving behavior. And what do you think the top 3 predictors are? I know you know, Chris, you've got the study, but I'm wondering what people at home think they are. The first one is if you have lots of money. Income. Yeah. So the more money you have, generally, the more money you will give. Education also played a factor. So the higher the education you have, the more you gave. And gender. And in the study, it was female giving more than male.
So pet ownership thus functions as a significant but secondary predictor of philanthropy. Income, education, and gender are the top 3.
Now, if you want to get into politics, which I don't really want to, but it was part of the study, pet owners were more likely to identify as independents, and non-pet owners were more likely to be non-partisans. And I actually had to look that up because we don't really have those terms in Canada. Non-partisans, in my research, referred to people who don't identify or affiliate with any political party. I know in the States, there's 2 big ones, like the Democrats and the Republicans. In Canada, depending on the year, we've got a schwack of different ones. But we do have Democrats and Republicans. They're just called something different. And then we've got 3 or 4 more parties you could vote for. So we've got lots. I'm not sure. I don't know what you'd be in Canada as a nonpartisan. Independents are folks that don't belong to a party, but generally lead their vote one way or the other. And again, sorry to folks who know about that because I didn't know. I actually had to do some research. So pet owners were more likely to identify as independents and non-pet owners were more likely to be nonpartisans.
But there's broader implications of this study. Pet ownership may actually act as a complex personality indicator. So it's like a construction stud sensor, except it's like, beep, this is a complex personality indicator. The study contributed to literature on social ties, so relationships that would be driving the generosity, and the strength of those ties, so the depth and durability of those social relationships. And lastly, the social information in philanthropy, how your personal identity informs your giving.
And that's me. My personal identity when I was younger was not a very giving person just because I didn't have a lot to give. And that my perspective on that has changed. But maybe so has my income, because when we were young, as you said, we were penny pinchers.
We didn't have a lot of money. I do remember we did participate in the kids' fundraisers, like for Jump Rope for Heart. Yeah, and worked really hard to support organizations like that. Cardiovascular health was really important to us at that time, still is. But what I loved is the kids getting involved. Adam reaching out and talking about the importance and then doing the exercises, the jumping rope.
You did bring out that folder when we met with my family. And they're all like, oh God, here comes the money folder for something.
I always did though, Jay. But
or ice cream or those like coupon books. That was one thing one year. It was like the stupid coupon book in the office they were all having the costume contest for. Yeah. And I was like, oh man, we like tried to flog those to my family because we had kids way before them. So we just expected them to buy some coupon books.
But there's only so many times you can tap into them. And then we had Royals and I can't do every fundraiser. I can do the flower fundraiser. I can do the chocolate fundraiser. I can't do them all because eventually the people are going to be like, can you find a larger group of people to ask to give?
I tried to tap my colleagues too. And they were just so much younger and they didn't have kids. So what was the one that you sent me to school to try to get? It was like 60 pounds of meat or bacon or something. Like you could get like copious amounts of meat. And they're like, we're single teachers. We don't need that kind of meat. Who's going to eat all that? That'd be like for a massive family, like a family of 6 to last you a couple months, not a single teacher. So I did not sell any of the meat packs to my colleagues.
You didn't, but you tried, but they did enjoy the Girl Guide cookies.
This is true. That's because they're relatively cheap and delicious. All right. That's Pet Science for this week. That's it for this week's show. Thanks for coming back week after week to listen to the Science Podcast. And a shout out to all the top dogs. That's the top tier of our Patreon community, the Paw Pack. You can sign up in our show notes. All right, Chris, let's hear those names that are part of the top dogs.
Amelia Fettig, Ree Oda, Carol Hanel, Jennifer Challen, Linnea Janik, Karen Chronister, Vicky Otero, Christy Walker, Sarah Bram, Wendy, Diane, Mason and Luke, Helen Chin, Elizabeth Bourgeois, Marianne McNally, Catherine Jordan, Shelley Smith, Laura Stephenson, Tracy Leinbach, Anne Uchida, Heather Burback, Kelly, Tracy Halberg, Ben Rather, Debbie Anderson, Sandy Breimer, Mary Rader, Bianca Hyde, Andrew Lynn, Brenda Clark, Brianne Hawes, Peggy McKeel, Holly Burge, Kathy Zerker, Susan Wagner, and Liz Button.
For science, empathy, and cuteness.